And so I wanted to come up with something that was different, something that would make people ask a question,
Mm.
right? Like, oh, what is that, right? Let me dive a little bit deeper. So, just like anything, any brainstorming, took me about, probably 4 or 5 days, went through like 100 different names. And I wanted something to symbolize the journey, right? Because this whole life is the journey, right?
Yep.
It's all about the course. It's all about the direction. And so I came up with course,
Without the
which
E.
without the E. So COURS. So for those that don't know, that means course direction in French. So it's course.
What's up? It's Adam Karenang back with another episode. I'm here sitting with Drew Walker. How you doing, man?
Yo, thank you for having me. How you doing, man?
Good, good, good.
Yes, yes, yes.
I'm excited for you to be here. Drew and I met a couple months back through one of our networking events, I believe, through some mutual friends. Got together, sat down. We have very aligned, similar vision and goals. He's got a lot going on. He owns a clothing line. I'm rocking the new hoodie and the
Yes.
new hat. He has some
Appreciate
mugs
that.
too. Just did a dope collaboration with Connor Holleran photo shoot downtown Indianapolis with a bunch of Instagram influencers, models, just dope people here in the city. So go check out that page. We're gonna dive in more to what course is, Drew's story, his vision with everything. But real quick, just to give you a brief background on Novelty Voice and the new listeners as well. Basically, Novelty Voice is just a platform for creative entrepreneurs and young professionals to be heard. Our goal is to interview really awesome up and coming movers, doers here in the city, get to know them more on a personal level, uncover their journey, their mindset, their vision for what they're doing.
Beautiful.
So today
Love
we
it.
are going to dive in deep to your story. And first, I just want to start off by asking the question, Drew, what are you all about?
Well, I'm about a little bit of everything. It's a different of a package deal for me. But the main thing, I mean, everything ties back to the vision. We talked about it plenty of times. For me, I'm really just really about the vision. Clear cut of what I want to do. I'm really big into motivational type of things, so to speak, just because I, have my own situation, I have my own vision that I've gone through. So just went through a lot of different things for myself to kind of like package up a vision to be where I'm at today.
For sure, I like it. We'll dive into a little bit more what he was talking about of his vision and what that is. But first, I want to, get the listeners a little background on you as a person. So, where are you from?
So from Chicago, grew up in the Windy City. From the Chicago, actually in the city. I know a lot of people say, "Oh, from Chicago," blah 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 blah. But I grew up in the Chicago on the South Side. Bears fan. But a little bit of brief history on me. Came from Chicago, came to Indy. What brought me here is played football, so got a scholarship at UIndy, University of Indianapolis.
Okay.
And from that point, played football there for 6 years. Got redshirted a couple of times. One for a standard, then two because I got hurt. So that kind of added me another year. So finished grad school there. Got a couple degrees in business. But what really sparked it for me was the whole evolution. Of course, was back in college. Like we all go there. You hear it's supposed to be the best time of our lives. This, and this and that. And for me, I went through that phase. We're going out, we're hitting the scene. We're really just focused on a lot of different things that really aren't conducive and beneficial, to us and what we want to do. So I actually got hurt my sophomore year, so my redshirt freshman year. First time, never been on the field, right? And I had a season-ending, surgery, so
Wow.
that really threw me off. And from that point, really got dove in pretty deeply, with the going out and kicking it with the fellas, and really just focusing on a lot of things that again weren't productive for me as an individual. So from that point, I really wasn't taking advantage of the opportunity.
Mm.
And what I mean by that is I was looking at the current situation. I wasn't looking at what it could be, right? I wasn't looking at the sun, amongst the actual storm.
Mm.
And so from that point, something clicked for me, right? I realized that, hey, this is a great opportunity for you. You know, you're at a big university. I'm going to have a big, big year with football, right? I'm going to be able to get a couple degrees here paid by the university.
Huge.
So I should definitely, take advantage of the opportunity. So what I did was, it was my sophomore year at that point. So my redshirt freshman year coming in. And so what I did was I really just dove deep into myself. So I started, looking at a lot of YouTube, right? I started studying Grant Cardone, started studying, it's a guy named Patrick McDavid. Started studying Gary Vee, really just all the top influencers that are talking about motivation, talking about really getting your life on track. And from that point, I would say 6 months in, 7 months in, I really changed, my total outlook. And I started reading more. Really started just getting to know who I was as an individual. And something clicked for me. And from that point, I would say 7 months later, I did a complete 180, right? And from that point, I said, wow, I really changed, my position in life. And I said, this is something that that I really need to get out to the world, because I understood exactly what my vision was. I understood exactly what I wanted to do with my life, and I really had a clear understanding on who I was as an individual. So I said, what would be the best way to, get this package, which was having a vision, right? Having a plan, applying action and staying focused throughout the journey, right? And just staying the course. Like, how can I package this deal up to the masses, especially the people in college, the young people, between 17 and the age of 24 that don't really know who they are, that are, really constantly doing the 360s in life. And so I studied French in elementary school, and I studied it in high school. Okay. So went to France, did a tour of France. So was really big into the actual language. And so I wanted to come up with something that was different, something that would make people ask a question, right? Like, oh, what is that, right? Let me dive a little bit deeper. So, just like anything, any brainstorming, took me about, probably 4 or 5 days, went through like 100 different names. And I wanted something to symbolize the journey, right? Because this whole life is the journey, right?
Yep.
It's all about the course. It's all about the direction. And so I came up with course.
Without the E.
Without the E. So COURS. So for those that don't know, that means course, direction in French. So it's course. And from that point, the rest is history.
Right on. I really like that. So it seems like you kind of had to go through some stuff in order to really uncover, your vision, who you really are. Let me ask you this. Did you grow up in like an entrepreneurial family? Did you have siblings? What was that like for you in Chicago?
So for me, I grew up in a different situation where, single mother, right? I had a great support system, but I did grow up where I saw my mom, really just make a life for us, right? So she's a lawyer here. She's a lawyer in Chicago, and I saw her grinding, picking us up, early in the morning, dropping us off at my grandfather's place, and then picking us up late, just going through the whole nine. And now she's in a beautiful situation. Now the whole family's doing well. So just that level of work ethic.
Yep.
Just a little quick backstory on my mom, which is really cool because I never really made a lot of excuses in my life. I always, took ownership.
Yep.
And the reason being is because, she was somebody that, is my biggest inspiration. So it was, she's a single mom, 24 years old, basically our age at this point, already has 2 kids. She's finishing up law school. She's in her last semester. She's taking 24 credit hours, working a full-time job. With 2 kids, right? Obviously, she had a great support system, but how does somebody do that?
Yeah.
Right? How does somebody do that and not make any excuses? And that's something that I saw and something that I applied into my life, and I really do feel like that's the reason why I have such a drive.
So answer that question for me. Like, why? How can someone do that without making any excuses? Do you think it's just that love that she had for her kids, or what? What was that?
So it's all about the vision and what I just about what you're doing, what Connor's doing, what Landon's doing, what Caesar's doing, what you're doing, Adam. It's all about the vision, right?
Mm-hmm.
So as long as the vision is pretty clear, pretty concise, no matter what happens along the way, no matter what obstacles it is, as long as you stay true to that vision, nothing can stop you. And I really just apply that, to my life, and really just being consciously aware of the situation.
What was your vision when you were a kid? Were you wanting to be like an NFL player? Were you wanting to be?
I excel really well in sports. Football, baseball. I play a little bit of basketball, track. So I definitely wanted to be a football player. That was a dream that was sold to me. But I did find myself, always finding a different way to make money.
Okay.
Whether that was, selling some, cards. Through in high school, always had a job, always had income coming in. For those, I'm sure you've heard of Project X, right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, so I like to preface this. So really entrepreneurial spirit. Growing up, and in high school, it was senior year, so Project X had just came out, right?
Inspiration.
So that came out. And from that point, we were in the movie theater. I was like, this is pretty dope. I love it. It's just the vibes, like having a bunch of people. And me, I would always throw, parties, from 6th grade to 8th grade, Super Bowl parties, whatever. I would always have a lot of people over, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I would always, bring people into one cohesive environment. So, I talked to my mom. I was like, hey, Mom, I like to, it's my birthday, right? Football is done with. I just accepted the offer to UIndy. I'm like, hey, so I would like to, have a birthday party. And Project X just came out. She's like, oh, okay.
This is back in Chicago, right?
Back in Chicago,
Okay.
yeah. So my senior year in high school. And she's like, okay, how many people are you expecting? I'm like, well, maybe a couple hundred. We'll play it by ear. Long story short, I started I didn't really start it, but kind of inherited a name called Foulet.
Okay.
It was kind of like a lifestyle type of movement in high school. And next thing you know, it started gaining some traction within the Chicago community. And so anyway, called it, Project Foulet.
Project,
Okay.
I like that.
So next thing you know, it's on Craigslist, social media, Twitter, Instagram. And basically, we were charging $3 a head to get in. We basically rated out, my parents had 3 levels, so I rated out the first level and the basement, got a DJ, paid the DJ. He was playing the playlist from Project X, right? So $3 a head. Next thing you know, we had about, I would say 700, 800 people that came in.
Jeez.
So we made about $3 to $4 grand in a matter of 2 hours.
But you weren't expecting this many.
But I wasn't expecting that many. I wasn't expecting
So how did that
go?
go down?
So what happened was there were so many different people. It was just, we had a big presence in Chicago, from playing sports, just the different connections that we had in Chicago. And just to give you an idea, we lived on 106 in Longwood, right? So there was people parking from 111th in Longwood to 95th in Longwood on both sides trying to get into this party. So cops were coming, people were getting tased. It was very literally just like the movie, minus, the fire.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So did that, and we gained a lot of light, within Chicago. And then from that point, did a part 2 later in July of that year. And, from that point, I really knew that, I really loved the idea of, having a vision and applying action towards it. And then also, making money along the way.
Facts, yeah. So you've always had this kind of like entrepreneurial spirit within you. And so you go to college for a football scholarship, and then explain your college experience. I mean, obviously it was different with you being involved in a sport.
Right.
But did you think that you benefited well from the academic side of college? How was that experience for you?
100%. So there's 2 different ways that people look at it. Some people say college is a waste of time, and then a lot of people say that it's a great transitional piece for me. I thought it was a little bit of more so it was a great transitional for me because it allowed me to, one, get closer to myself. I did feel like I was always consciously aware, but, really allowed me to make that transition moving forward. But from a business aspect, that's what I studied. You know, I got my undergrad in business and then got my master's in business. So from a strategical standpoint, it really allowed me to structurally, you know, break things down. But also, my connections are great just because of the fact that, you know about Alex Bitar, you
Yep.
know about Ty Willis, you know about a lot of those guys, Lean Dillon. And the only reason that we're sitting right here is because, I knew those individuals
Yeah, true.
along the way. So, the connections are limitless in my eyes.
Yeah, the networking aspect of it.
Definitely.
What would you say? What's your thoughts on just networking in general?
Networking is huge. They say what your net worth is,
Your
your
net-
network is your
net
net
worth.
Your net worth. So I do feel like that. I do feel like there's definitely some knowledge that you have to have along the way, as far as business, the ability to sell things of that nature. But just being personable, so being able to have these different conversations, being able to just say hello to that person down the street or whatever the case is, because you never know.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't tell you so many times where a situation where, for instance, we both know Jay Grossnickel. You know him through real estate, and Ty Willis. Well, that night I was like, man, I'm really not feeling that good. I don't know if I really want to go out to Ty Willis's birthday, but anyway, I went, had a great time, met you,
Yep.
shook hands with you. Next thing you know, a week later, we're having dinner at Applebee's,
Yep.
and next thing you know, months later, here we are.
Yeah.
So it's definitely 100% about your network.
Dude, that's huge, and it's funny looking back on just like different things that happen in life and being able to connect the dots and just know that like you're in the right place at the right time with the right people,
Definitely.
which can literally change the direction of your life forever.
100%.
So okay, you're in college, you're playing football,
Yep.
you have this idea to start Course. So
Right.
I want to dive in more deep into this platform of Course. Obviously, it's not just a clothing line,
Right.
right? And so, what is your vision behind like where you want to take this thing and truly like you gave a little feedback of and you shared your perspective of really like what it's about, the vision, the journey, sticking to that course, but
Right.
for you, like what does that mean and where do you really want to take this platform?
So for me, I really just want to, my whole essence behind the brand, I've always been into clothing. Again, back in the Project Fule days, I made my own T-shirts. I pressed them myself. It was something about just like the clothing and making your own. You're making your own item is something that really compelled for me, and also for myself. Like I'll look at Marshalls, look at these different places. I'm like, well, it cost me $30, $40, $100 to get this. Well, why not spend that money and actually make more shirts and then actually be able to sell those or be able to sell something positive, something that I believe in, right? And so, from that point, it's just really just about a brand and making a vision known worldwide. And the reason I say that is because there's a lot of brands, right? I've done a lot of studies, done a lot of homework, right? I've been doing this for years, and there's definitely a lot of brands, like the Nikes and the Supremes and things of that nature that are having a positive message. But there's not a lot of people, not a lot of brands in the limelight that are packaging up a positive formula and sending it out to the masses. Right, there are a lot of brands that are showcasing, hey, you have money, you have wealth, right? You have like a type of status in the world, but not a lot of brands are really putting back that positive image of having it's okay for you to have your vision, right? It's okay for you to have a plan, and if you just apply action to that vision and plan and stay the course and stay focused, then the world is yours. There's not a lot of brands that are showcasing that type of formula, and that's where I feel like course is something that I'm pushing and I'll be pushing forever.
Dude, that's awesome. I was listening, I think it was to Tony Robbins today on a YouTube video, and he was talking about it's kind of the essence of what you're saying here. He talks about how you have to master the science of achievement.
Yep.
And what that is, there's really a formula in this science behind it, manifesting reality and making things come true. And as long as you literally stick to that vision, I mean, things are going to adjust and change, and you're going to, it's going to be hard sometimes, but as long as you stay the course and you never give up, eventually you will manifest, whatever that is you're kind of chasing.
100%.
So, he touches on that, and then then another side of it that we won't have to dive deep into
Right.
is just like the whole art of fulfillment. So there's the science of achievement and the art of fulfillment. He talks about how the ultimate failure in life is success without fulfillment.
Exactly.
And so, with this whole stay the course, stay the vision, with this, it's like I think the most important part is while we're staying, the course and really trying to manifest our reality and turn our dreams into reality, we have to really think long term. That's something that I've been kind of dealing with lately is looking at the outcome of what I want to happen 5, 10, 25 years from now and think to myself, will that bring me fulfillment?
Exactly.
And if it doesn't, then you might want to rethink what you're doing today.
Exactly, that's the problem.
And so, I mean, yeah, I don't know. We can actually touch on that a little bit. What do you think about you just hear all the time? You hear stories, I guess, of all these people that might have money or becoming successful, but
Right.
then they're miserable.
Exactly.
Right? Like, what would you say about this? What's your advice on when you are staying the course and sticking to your vision? How do
Right.
you really turn it into something that you'll be fulfilled doing?
Right, and it really just comes down to being self-aware. I do feel like in this day and age, because social media is great. With anything that's a great tool, with anything that's something easier for us to reach out to the masses, there are going to be some negatives, so to speak, to
Yeah.
that. And what those negatives are is that a lot of people are chasing things that are insignificant to self, because
Ooh.
it does come down to yourself, right? And chasing the likes, chasing the comments, views, whatever, which is great, if you're using it as a tool. But if you're really tying that to your self-esteem, then that's somewhere where we have a shaky, really a slippery slope. And that's the same with the business. You can make a lot of money. I know a lot of guys are making a lot of money. We're in a great market where we're making great money, but it's all about the fulfillment, for myself. So what I'm doing is a lot of the things that I'm doing, I'm putting back into something that really fulfills me. Like what I do every day, I'm very happy. I'm very grateful because I'm happy. Like every day I wake up, I'm like, yes, I get the opportunities, to really chase and go after my future self, if that makes sense, right? And I'm doing it for myself, because if I'm chasing my vision, so me chasing that vision is propelling me to get to levels that I would have never got to if I wasn't chasing and wasn't clear on my vision. And then also it's helping me to bring the people around me and bring them up, right? And I'm seeing how they're increasing as individuals. Now, if I'm chasing, just money, right, or I want the next lady to look at me, or I'm just gonna buy a car just to buy a car, or just to say I have a lot of money, then that's where you're not chasing your own vision, you're chasing the vision of others, and that's where no amount of money, no amount of females, no amount of males, no amount of likes, or abundance or fame could really fulfill you as an individual. So it really does come down to the vision, and we all know exactly what that is, but it's really it's really hard to stay true to that.
Yeah, dude, that's spot on. Okay, so I guess what would be the hardships, the pressures of being an entrepreneur for you?
So I mean, the hardest thing is just staying consistent. That's just with anything,
yeah.
right? It's just staying consistent, and really, like it's great when things go the way you want it to go, but it's terrible when it doesn't. And prime example for me is I threw a party. I told you I'm big into events. I'm really big into taking risks, and I have no problem with that, especially if there's going to be a lesson on the other side of that. So about a year ago, yeah, it was about a year ago, or about a year and a half ago. It was the Indy 500 last summer or 2 summers ago. And, it was my first event that I was going to throw here downtown Indianapolis. It was my first deal that I closed at a venue, right across the street from Fogo de Chao on Washington Street.
Was this 4 course?
This is 4 course, yes.
Okay.
It was going to be an Indy 500 event. The most people are, it's the biggest event, worldwide.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of people that are going to be there. And so what I did was I was like, hey, why not capitalize off of this, right? All the individuals that are coming here. So I went with the first place that I could possibly book. I thought it was a cool venue from my knowledge at that point. I was going to have T-shirts, right? I had 2 DJs. I had a lot of people that gave me their verbals to come. it's pay to get in. Then obviously is the bar, and it's going to be a great environment to showcase the brand, and then also get people in one environment. Well, long story short, I was really gun ho on it. Some people tell me, "Hey, you probably don't want to compete with Indy 500," but I was like, "Hey, people are going to be coming." Coming to the event afterwards. It's later at night, so they'll be able to rally the whole nine. And long story short, it came down to the party time, and there was probably like 12 to 15 people that were there, right? So I had to throughout the entire night.
Yeah. Okay.
12 to 15.
And you were expecting how many? Probably.
I was expecting probably over 100, 150.
Okay.
Because I had did an event about 6 months prior, and I had over 100 people that came.
Mm-hmm.
But long story short, I did not, take into consideration the factors. So, is it on the main street? What do I get out of collaborating with this specific venue, right? Is there any other event that's going on that night? A lot of where's the location? Okay, marketing, like so many different things that I did not take into consideration. I was, focused on just the vision and capitalizing. But learn a big lesson from it.
What was that lesson?
And that was the thing. It's all about your research, right? It's all about collaborating, right? It's all about what are you going to get out of this venue, right? Do they have a following itself, right? Are they bringing in people consistently without you? Okay, and then also where's the location? Is there an event that's going on that night that you could possibly be competing with? What will the organic reach be in conjunction to the marketing that you already have set? And so with all that said, I was looking at myself and looking at the DJ, and I set up shop, or I closed down shop, and I paid for the whole night, but I shut it down 2 hours early, and I bite the bullet, and it was okay. And so I learned from that. And then 6 months later, in February, I collabed with Square Cat Vinyl. So shout out to Square Cat Vinyl, and did my winter release back in February of 2018, and it was a great event. It was right there in Fountain Square. It was on the main strip. They already had a great following. They were very kind and grateful to put me to help me to bring my brand and my vision there. I think over like 95, 100 people came there. So really just took from that lesson and learned from it, and I was able to excel from there.
So how do you well, put it this way, bro. I'm watching you on Instagram, and I see you waking up every single day at 5 a.m., going to the gym, putting it on your story for as long as I've known you.
Yeah.
How do you stay consistent with that specifically?
It's really a mindset, and a lot of people ask me that on a day-to-day basis, like, what time do you wake up, and what time are you getting up in the morning? And I'm like, I get up at 4:50, 5 o'clock. And it's really just about, for me, it really started when I started making that shift. And I've always woken up early, for football and things of that nature. But when I became consciously aware, I was like, hey, we have 24 hours in a day. 24 hours in a day, right? We sleep for, 6 to 8, whatever is conducive for you as an individual. And and so from that point, we would have about 15 to 16 to 17 hours for us to actually, max out our day. So, from that point, I just became very grateful for the opportunity, right? So that each day that you get up, like, I'm very grateful for that, right? I'm very grateful for the opportunity. So I said, hey, instead of me waking up just on time to get to work, or just on time to get to the gym, or just on time to get to wherever you need to be, why not wake up a little bit earlier? And so I started meditating 3 years ago. I've been meditating ever since, every single morning, 5 to 10 minutes every single morning, get up at 5, and it just became a habit. Just like anything else, just like developing a new muscle, developing a new habit, it just became a habit, and it became, part of my DNA.
So 2 questions with that. The first one being, so do you, even if you go to bed late, like, do you still wake up? Do you go to bed consistently at a certain time every single night?
No, it's never really consistent. Like, sometimes I'll go to sleep super late, but then some days I may go to sleep really early. Really just depends on, how my day goes. But my work week is Monday through Saturday. So, Sunday is my time to just chill and, sleep in, quote unquote, which is probably like 7, 8 o'clock. So my body's used to getting up so early. But, Monday through Saturday, you want to get to the point where you're putting in so much work some days I do forget. Like I'm like, wow, it's already Friday. Wow, it's already Sunday. And then when it's time to take a chill and take a chill pill, chill with a lady, whatever whatever floats your boat. And it's well deserved. You know what I mean? So I just try to do the best to max out each hour, each minute of my day, and it works for me because I just feel like I'm not really comparing myself to others, but I've already, by the time you wake up, I've already put 2 or 3 hours in.
Yeah, and that's motivating within itself for you probably.
Definitely. And I can't remember the guy. What's the guy's name? The Max Out guy. What's his name?
Max out guy.
You were just at the 10X conference. Max out your life. Like
like Grant Cardone.
Yeah.
Is that who you're talking about?
No, not Grant Cardone. It's another guy. I listen to him every day. He's the Max Out guy.
You're gonna.
Oh man. Oh, who's the guy? Oh wow. I think you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Max Out guy.
Yeah. Because Grant is 10X. And
give me something else besides the Max Out guy.
Yeah. He's definitely.
Ty Lopez?
No.
Jesse Itzler.
Ed Milet.
He wasn't there.
He wasn't at the 10X?
No, he wasn't there. But I know who you're talking about. Yeah. Okay.
So I study Ed Milet. He's, part of the, part of, the 10X crew with the Grant Cardone. And he really prefaced something that I was doing subconsciously, which is instead of one day, he makes his days 6 hours. So essentially, what somebody gets done in a day or in a whole calendar, he gets done in 6 hours, right? So he'll go hard for 6 hours, take his little break, and then go hard another 6 hours, and then another 6 hours, whatever the case is. So what you've actually done 3 days in one.
Okay.
Or 2 days in one, however you want to break it down. So essentially, you're getting a lot further than, somebody that's, doing something in 1 week. Somebody's work you've done in a week and you're doing it in a day.
Wait, so explain this then. So he's doing things in 6 hour blocks, and so he basically works for 6 hours, takes like a hour or two break, and then works for 6 hours, and it's like around the clock, just constantly.
Yeah. So I mean, he'll have his sleep. I don't know exactly his sleep session, but essentially what he's doing is he's getting double the work done that you would get done in a day. He's doing it pretty much double in a day. So he has like two individual days in one day.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Powerful. Okay, I like that. Who would you say some of your biggest mentors are?
So for me, it's one is definitely my mom. My mom, my grandfather, they really set the foundation for me as an individual, right? Set my morals, my values, hard work, dedication, really just being open-minded, letting me know that, they really instilled in me that I can do whatever I set my mind to. And then from that point, it's really just, who I consume on a day-to-day basis. So the Ed Milets, the Grant Cardones, the Steve Jobs, right? Really just all the influencers, worldwide right now.
What do you think that the importance of consuming these people's content on a day-to-day basis? What's the importance of that to you?
For me, it's just reaffirming, what you already know. So a lot of people know exactly what to do, but it's kind of reaffirming it because what you think about is going to be your reality. So it's the same as a song, right? The same as, a good song, the bad song. You are, what you ingest on a day-to-day basis.
I like that. And so out of all the, I guess you could call them online mentors, who's your favorite? Who do you consume the most?
I would say it's a toss-up between Grant Cardone and Gary Vee.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is Gary Vee is, a lot of people say he's commercialized, whatever the case is, but I really do feel like he stays true to himself. He doesn't really care about what others think, and he's really just all about the long game. Grant Cardone is very structural.
Yep.
Really big into real estate, as you are. So he gives me a lot of knowledge in that, just about maxing, just 10Xing and maxing out your goals and your potential.
I like it. And so going off that 10X, a question for you is, what's 10 times your current goal or your long-term vision? Something crazy to think about that possibly seems unattainable.
So that's the main thing about a goal is really just chasing something that'll never happen, that you're not actually able to fulfill in this lifetime, right? That's what's really going to keep you going, something that's endless. So I have written down, because again, seeing is believing. So I always write down my goals. But one of the biggest things that I have written down is to have the biggest brand in the world with the most positive influence. And with this success, I will help others.
Love it. Love it. And so Who would be some of your biggest inspirations?
As far as just individuals.
Individuals that, I mean, probably some of your mentors that you've touched on, but is there anyone specific that, looking back on your life, that you met along your journey and you're like, that person inspired me? That person changed the whole entire course of my life.
Oh, that's really difficult. I would have to say number one that comes to my mind is definitely my mom. You know, just based upon what she's endured in her life and the type of knowledge that she always instills in me. It's like every conversation I have with her is always new knowledge. And then also really just I would say just the Gary V's and the Grant Cardones. Like it's very cool to see somebody, especially Gary V and Grant Cardone, that's actually running a legitimate business
Yeah.
and it's thriving as well as showcasing that to the world. So definitely shout out to Gary V and Greg Cardone.
Definitely. They've changed my life.